I'm from Jimi Hendrix and Charlie Parker jammed endlessly until every song has been played on top of every other song. Where I'm from, we're still.
I am a scribe writing pen to paper to you, telling you about my journey as I pick up my stick, hear it over my back, and tell you of all the tales that are in my mind.
Thinking of what you never can bring back? Or else you're off in some fog concerning tomorrow? Is that what you call it?
No longer feeling the heat from these streets.
There we go.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because it is raining and it's cold beneath our feet.
Yeah.
Wordplay is home. So while in the education world, through tutoring and bookbinding, our voices shall be heard. Through monologues and scripted frames, picturing the global view, one youth at a time. Taking advantage of teaching moments, move through passages of the main line. We are here to drive importance of what is taught should be learned. Exercise into our minds, force-fed from volunteers, grind in the outlook of life. See, these are life lessons. I love it. Second Saturday, we're doing World Poetry again in October. Yeah. October 10th is the next open mic series. We got Seven Hills who will be our features, and we'll be out in the streets again. Guerrilla poetry now. I love it. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. All of you. 6:30, be inside. Everybody can breathe. Aujourd'hui, tu écoutes moi. Je suis ton muse et tout le monde sont mon artiste. Je m'appelle Désiré. Mais tout le monde, c'est moi le poète du silence. Mon mot arrive quand je te parle. Mais aujourd'hui, mon mot, c'est l'exact moment que tu conviens. Et merci. A crime was committed at 17. Me need a sin to be forgiven because I wouldn't accept one with 10 little fingers. Let alone 10 little toes. Moaning to be grown but can't woman up to the responsibility. Him wanting to build a family with welfare money. Loving someone who only knows the meaning of lust. Taking a piece of his heart while one was being created in my gut. Discouraged by no trust, because see, he failed to realize in my big brown eyes, my dreams were being crushed. From every sensational throw-up that I prayed was a virus imaginary to my mind. Cloudy minds with a tiny impression filled with love. That would be crying for a mother and a father. But see, for me, neither was existed because see, me and him were both still children. And that didn't want to become a black statistic that was prevalent at every abortion clinic. Well, I'm consultant, try to make my soul feel free. The thought of a child that will just like me. And to face a child with the pondering question of, Mommy, why me? So I followed my heart that cracked with the pen as my signature set up the murder of my first kid. My mom tried to explain that this was an issue between myself and the Creator. But rather, I feel like the devil was my accomplice. And I know it was easier said than done to let go and let God, but once that road was on, my firstborn was gone. No tears to wipe away or pampers to change, but see, this baby is in a better place. And I don't want to have to deal with a deadbeat father, and I don't want to be a struggling mother, cause crime was committed at 17. Me needing a sin to be forgiven. Cause I wouldn't accept someone with 10 little fingers, let alone 10 little toes. The host for this evening, it's a pleasure for me to introduce this young man. He is louder than the Bombs Poetry Teen Slam winner of 2015, an Aiken High School graduate who's at the University of Cincinnati.
Yay.
Everybody know him by his government name as Lacey Robinson, but I know him as Asylum.
In a world with three-headed squirrels running around and speaking backwards German, I have come to learn that it is always beneficial to have a purpose squirt gun because it will disintegrate the howlers and then you are free to walk the streets safely. Now, the reason why that just sounded like the fever dream of a homeless man to all of you, and to me, quite honestly, it sounded perfectly fine, is because I've learned that when you have whatever condition it is that I have, you understand that all of your brains don't quite work like mine. And when I first discovered this truth, the first thought that I had was great. As if I didn't have enough problems making friends already. Now I'm insane. Everybody at school already thought I was the really weird kid, and now I have a shattered brain. And as if like clockwork, as soon as I began to suffer, I simultaneously discovered my love for the academics and my artistic ability as if that would help at all with any of the pain. You see, I had a conversation with God, and she said, hey kid, I know life sucks right now, but those conscious nightmares that I bestowed upon your brain are going to be so visually stimulating that you're going to be able to display them on a piece of paper with the same level of dexterity and skill as Leonardo da Vinci when he painted the Mona Lisa. And as far as those voices in your head, kid, they're going to expand your vocabulary, and you're going to gain such a craving for knowledge that you're going to be able to produce philosophical poetry and beautiful thoughts that will one day be held amongst the levels of the exalted ones. I mean, that's got to help, right? Yeah, God, that helps. I mean, you could have never given me these problems in the first place and make me want to kill myself on a couple of occasions, but this is a great love constellation prize. You're awesome, God. Because you see, God is a cool chick who gave me all of these cool gifts, but I stopped believing in her on the day that she made my life a living hell. And sometimes in my worst days, I'll dwell on the fact that, hey, maybe everything will be okay because of the fact that I can read, write, and draw so well. But it doesn't help because it would appear to me in my mind that my possession of creativity and intelligence are carefully selected reparations and seemingly somewhat apologetic accommodations for all of the years that I had to endure unbearable mental torture and failing in school because I couldn't keep my concentration because I was covering my ears trying to block out those voices or closing my eyes because I didn't want to see those horrific hallucinations, but picking up a pen calmed all that down in the world of art game with this beautiful socially accepted safe haven. And now truthfully, I don't know. Maybe being a poet was all part of the universe's plan for me, or at least that's the excuse they presented me with in the form of the theory that genius often likes to walk down the road hand in hand with insanity. And you see, that makes sense to me because the random creative individual is inevitable. The ideas that come from any of you might be impeccable. And I happen to know with no ego that my thoughts are on the level of being so astronomically incredible to the point that they seem like I have the superior intelligence of a highly intellectual extraterrestrial. And that works. Because an alien is exactly what I feel like around all of my friends. And that hurts. Being around people who I care about so much makes me feel like the end. There are no outbursts. I simply sit in a seemingly safe circle surrounded by all of my suspicious associates, and I suffer without words. But you see, now the question is why? Why do I walk around wearing a fake smile knowing that I'm living at a lie? Why do I walk amongst the land of the living pretending to be one of them knowing good and well that I'm dying inside? I mean, why not one time can't I tell myself that everything is going to be okay and that I no longer have to hide? And why not one time can't I look myself in the eyes and say, hey, maybe I am crazy, but that's just fine. Because you see, the only life that I'm ever going to be stuck with living is mine. And so I got to choose to love myself despite all those hard times. So I'm going to brush myself off. I'm going to wipe away all those tears. I'm going to decide to continue trying. I mean, why not one time?
Let's drink ourselves to death, you said so. I drank myself into the middle of an ocean on a raft the color of your eyes because I see the universe in you, but I'm still stringing asteroid belts through the loops in my pants, hanging like some half-dead marionette puppet from the stars. I am literally holding myself together with myth. I have a soft heart, but hurt is hard and scarred with every time you crossed out your name. I only have memories of who we could have been, but we never got the chance, so I stitched them together to justify why I can't stop clinging to them like a security blanket. We were terminal like our velocity. This love was formulaic from the beginning. We hit endgame too fast. The two of us floating in real time, making our fall from grace. They say it's not real until you die when the chant turns to why didn't we help? And in instances of self-diagnosis, the only prescription for this life is death. The way my hips sit suggests that I am ready for motherhood, but I am coming to realize that maybe that's not my role in this. To be honest, this is a love letter and an apology, a double-barreled shotgun aimed at you and who I used to be, bending over backwards for you. I never learned to see what I look like in the mirror, but that's my fault, not yours. Love that can't stay is never stolen. It sees an open door and leaves, tripping down the steps after it, immortalizes a ghost that never needed to exist. But when the mountains move you, push back, you are not a side effect. What took me years to understand was that when you gotta go, go. And that I can't bask in the glow of a love that doesn't exist. So this is me saying that I am not your pit stop love, your I have no one else love, your it's better than nothing love, because I am more than a last resort. And don't tell me you love me just because you need to hear it back. There are days where you can find me sitting at the bottom of the ocean, hoping that by water displacement I'll learn the weight of this language, cramming life preservers into my mouth to keep myself from hurling 4-letter words into coral reefs. In my lifetime of bad choices and run-on sentences, I have found within myself a house of healing. It lies next to massive stacks of altars that belong to make-believe gods who weren't listening. You were one of them. So the next time you call me up for a body, know that I am not a funeral home. Know that I won't answer. I'll be in my church in the front row where there's a no phones allowed policy, and I'll be thanking myself for making it this far.
Circa 1976, Dorothy Hamill won gold for figure skating in a custom-tailored glittering pink dress. About 25 years later, I wore her bullish haircut and some stretchy pants from Target. Circa 2001, my grandmother stared into my eyes, watercolored pink, as I scowled unyieldingly on her bed. She sighed, and with a prim floral dress gripped in one hand, she said, "If you refuse to wear dresses, what will you wear on your wedding day?" "Pants," I said, but this did not suffice. For maybe the first 3 years of my life, I threw up on sterile-smelling kitchen and grocery store floors while everything around just sort of stayed suspended in a circa 1950s magazine advertisement, smiling and perky and squeaky clean. Cereal boxes lined up in a row on a shelf, fruit meticulously arranged in a bowl on the counter, all domestic and white with a slender woman poised over her shiny new vacuum, but maybe because vacuums don't clean up vomit, well, time stayed frozen around me while the spicy orangish puddle seeped steadily between the sterile tiles, and some frenetic white fairy dots flew all around. At some point early on, my decrepit curmudgeon of a pediatrician prescribed me a glass of soy milk daily to settle my stomach. Circa 2004, the end of recess bell clanged. Julia from my first grade class stood next to me in line and asked me for the third time if I was a boy or a girl. I said girl and cried. Her pigtail shot out from her head like the chunky ends of paintbrushes while her fat brown eyes smiled at my tears from under Fisher-Price red glasses frames, and I did not kick her in the shins the next day, I don't think. Circa 2005, I begged my mom to let me grow out my hair, and she cried. Circa that same year, Julia pinched my waist and called me fat. At some point in 5th grade, I asked a girl who was friends with the most popular girl in my class why that girl didn't like me, and she said, "Well, you aren't fat, not at all, but you aren't skinny either, so maybe that's why." When I was about 13, maybe, a couple of my teachers asked if I was doing okay, and I told them I planned on gaining some of the weight back. When I was 8 years old, maybe, my young, cheery, ex-wannabe rock star pediatrician said I was becoming a woman. My mom gasped and tried to send him visual signals of "please stop now," because I didn't know then that becoming a woman was more than just growing a few inches taller. Circa 1 year later, I donned a real bra, and we blamed it all on the excessive estrogen in soy milk. Circa 2009, someone in my gym class told me to, quote, "stop running like a fairy," and in another gym class, a guy yelled to some other guy to, quote, "stop standing there like a pregnant lady." Sometime in 2011, my computer ran at a manageable but nevertheless irritating pace, and I whispered, "Come on," and a guy next to me said, "Maria, did you just say that kind of sexy?" And as the page finally loaded, I said, "No, go away." Sometime the next year, I ate a brownie, and a different guy sat next to me and said, "That diet does not match that body." Circa the rest of that year, a guy would not stop texting me and following me around because I was, quote, "a mountain of love he could not climb." 2 years later, someone told me that I was beautiful, so I thought that meant that they had more to say, but over the course of a few months, maybe, I learned that this wasn't and isn't the case. In about 1856, Gustave Flaubert wrote the book Madame Bovary about a woman's sexual independence, but in or around 2014, some emo kid on a toddler's bike stalked me up and down the street, and since I really didn't want to, quote, "get to know him better," I was not able to read outside at all that day. Sometime around now, maybe, I'm drinking soy milk again to settle my stomach, but it really just isn't working. Time keeps moving forward, I guess, but I still feel suspended in the middle of it as that orangish pool of vomit seeps into white, pristine cracks. I see pretty often another girl or girls meander into this kitchen and let their lunch go, hoping the silence and stillness around them will change, so I really hope that vacuuming woman or someone else even will unfreeze in time and notice that tile reeking of bleach isn't the best flooring option for this house. and maybe then our bodies could feel normal.
My body is bold. My body talks. My body got a lot of stories to be told. I giggle as most body simpletons wiggle their nose and wrinkle their brow when they browse the mirror in the comfort of their own home. They treat their own hide like it's an inconvenient aside to life, like it's a sideshow to wardrobe, but I like my body talk. My body talk is bold. Coffee color, definition strong like rolled gold, scent like fresh cocoa, smoothed over like cocoa butter, my body talks back. Even linens mutter a longing to be my body lover. But let me take a moment to escape this vain landscape that has me trimming my bushes, lifting my mountains, and drying up my 28 streams. My body talks back and takes me back to when it could just be. Legs wide open to catch a cool breeze and happy baby pose. Grows up to free prepubescent, then adolescence backwards in my chair sitting just before those jeans start fitting too right. Now all of a sudden my body is too bold. My body is the bad black. Clothing stores don't index for these exact dimensions and Afro facts. Now I need to pass for the common act. But this ass sits in perfect proportions of fat, perfect snack size, nipples bite-sized, gazing at you like two brown eyes. Round mound chocolate pie center makes for fine dining, then makes the switch to give birth to life. Strong legs sit me about yay high, thighs carry me across desert sands, rocky lands, mountains, dusty ankle paths in those motherlands. I was the first to do this with no hands. Water for my babies I carry on top my crown. I'm the original master of balance. But occasionally my dance don't break backs, but it occasionally break banks, and I ain't never been ashamed to take ends from these lambs who choose to lose their cool off of my decorative stool. Don't be mad because I know how to pool my resources. My tools go to work. Don't be mad because my curves is looking at your purse. My curves square off when squares try and test my soft touch. You can catch my profile rerouting the breeze that you was trying to catch as it eclipses the sunlight and such. I love when soft shirts drape my nips, and it's amazing how this seemed to cause so many people fits, but I can never shed tears for such short-range respect. My body is stomach, my stomach is true. You mean to tell me my stomach is the keeper of food, life, and strong will? I guess that's where I get all these stripes. My body is hair, my hair is tight. I'm used to living on edge, don't try and give me control. I'm doing all of this right. My mane is swole. Humidity is exactly what it needs. Don't you prefer being moist to being thirsty? So please, body chambers, please exit stage right. I love my shiny trinkets. These adornments is your source of life.
Fetch. Balls and sticks capture my attention seconds at a time. Catch? I don't think so. Bunny, tumbling leaf, a squirrel who's, oh joy, actually scared. Sniff the wind, then I'm off again. Muck, pond, ditch, residue of any thrillingly dead thing. And you? Either you're sunk in the past, half-hour walk, thinking of what you can never bring back, or else you're off in some fog concerning tomorrow. Is that what you call it? My work, to unsnare time's warp and woof, retrieving my haze-headed friend, you. This shining bark, a Zen master's bronzy gong, calls you here entirely now. Bow wow, bow wow, bow wow.
You should feel free. When writing, you should be who you want to be. We were born to create, and when we get old, we should show the children so they can recreate. You don't have to rhyme, just sit back and take your time. Your mind will surprise you, and you will decide to let go, to let the world know, I have a voice, this is me, and I want everyone to see.
Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird. And if that mockingbird don't sing, Mama's gonna buy you a diamond ring.
So we sing every day to our thoughts in the form of babies. Babies cradled by both genders, babies soothed by all ages. For the maternal instinct transcends when it comes to shutting up reality. Transcends because everyone needs to sleep and live without hearing the incessant howling of bigger things and their resulting insignificance. So the soft thuds of babies hitting cribs again and again and again is a sound that resounds everywhere, forming the incessant hooting of horns and the hiss of trains as we progress, work and progress while our babies digress. We just can't hear that howling that interrupts the important flurry of hands and the steady current of sands.
That feed us the shining morrow.
But thoughts are not children. We cannot tuck them into bed and beguile them with lullabies. We cannot dress them up in innocence and expect to clothe the roots. The dark root, those baby insides, where knowing cynicism drinks tea and speaks eternally free, smirking as his cigar ashes hit the ground as meteors, where our mellow melodies drown in the steel lake of his eyes, where he speaks of death, admits that every day is a short-winded rattling breath, that beauty is gone before it arrives, that the values we make are leaves in the wind, that we are bestial and full of sin, that everything we do is a method to cope with ubiquitous pointlessness. So we sing our lullaby.
Sleep, little baby, don't you cry. Don't wake Mama when she's working. Mama has a lot to do, so don't wake her up. You will learn this later, little one.
So we continue on and on and on, writing glorious stories next to 7 billion silent cradles, rushing through subways, office cubes, as our babies droll at daycare, walking oh so quietly when we get home at night to avoid that howling flight. And only when the sun rises in the sky do we hold our babies high, squeezing pudgy wrists and leading virgin fingers through the red and orange hues that smudge hope to the edge of perception, smiling to ourselves and nodding as the little hands grasp golden threads and squeal of
diamond rings, looking glasses, billy goats, carts and bowls, and a dog named Rover.
So we live our lives singing a hollow lullaby to thoughts that know far more than us, far more, but
good night, little baby, good night.
When I was a little boy, my Appalachian grandma told me about the hoop snakes in the holler. They would grab their tails and roll through the hills. It's an old wives' tale told by a widow. And one day at wordplay, I was trying to help, name deleted to protect the innocent, learn how to tell time. First graders don't know times tables, they don't know fractions. I spun the hands on a cardboard clock, but she told me, that don't apply to me. And I remembered learning to tell time and my granny telling me about hoop snakes and explaining that o'clock means of the clock, but even back then, nobody said that. And today, the digital age has forgotten the face of time. The round analog clock is no longer prevalent. The mysteries of time are no longer relevant. Hoop snakes don't exist, but time is still a circle. 360 degrees measured in 12 numbers. A little hand multiplies by 5, 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute. Time is a spinning carnival ride, and each day the earth rotates on its axis. Each year the earth circles the sun. Each 7 years your birthday is on Saturday, and every month the moon turns around the sun, and it takes 28 days, despite what the calendar says. And does the moon spin too, I wonder? Interlocking orbits like the intermeshed gears of a watch, 360 degrees in a circle, 365 days in the year. Orbits are elliptical, that's why the math is imperfect. 6 squared is 36, times 10 is a perfect circle. Add a leap year and watch the moon. The atomic clock adds leap nanoseconds to keep the decimal places in sync with the pagan 6s and 12s. And before the railroads ran on time, every town and village was its own time zone. And time was measured in shadows. The phases of the moon are produced by the shifting shadow of the earth. The simplest clock is a sundial. The showdown takes place at high noon. The burial is at sunset. And we no longer measure time in circles. We no longer say quarter to midnight. It is simply 11:45. But my favorite speed to drive is 60 miles per hour, a mile a minute, because time travel is possible. We're just stuck on a one-way street. But back in the day when I lived in Dayton, Indiana didn't save daylight. So it was possible 6 months out of the year to drive to Richmond and arrive before you left. Of course, coming back took 2 hours.
This here is Wordplay Cincy Scribes Open Mic every second Saturday. We have writing workshops from 12 to 2 every Saturday. So come out and just know that you've just been scribed. Peace out.